The stars were silent that night. Across the earth, our great cities stretched like rivers of light, pulsing with life and power. But beyond our fragile blue home, something was watching. Something ancient. Something that had never faced a world quite like this. I'm Commander Elias Kane. From the observation deck of the orbital station Sentinel One, I watched the scanners. Hundreds of strange blips, moving with a chilling precision that no human fleet could ever match. I whispered it, more to myself than anyone. They're coming. But everyone else already felt it. A deep, cold warning that settled right into their bones. For months, the Council had debated. Were they here to trade? Was it a diplomatic mission? But I knew better. There was something in their cold, symmetrical approach that didn't just suggest war. It screamed it. Sir, Lieutenant Mira Chen's voice was tight. They're slowing down. Looks like they're hovering over the Sol system. My jaw tightened. We had studied every intercepted fragment, every faint signal. These aliens were precise, deadly, and utterly unknown. No language we could decipher, no tactics we recognized. Just silence. And silence, as any soldier knows, can be far more terrifying than the loudest battle cry. Down below, in New London, millions of people were now looking up. The first colossal shadows of the alien ships cut across the moonlight. The world stopped. People stood in the streets, mouths open, hearts pounding. Some wept, some prayed, but the aliens made no move. Not yet. On board Sentinel One, I brought up the holographic projections. Every model, every simulation pointed to the same terrifying conclusion. They weren't just observing, they were calculating, waiting for the perfect moment to strike. A soft chime broke my focus. The communications console blinked. A single broken transmission came through. It wasn't speech. It was a low hum, a vibration that seemed to course through the very hull of the station almost as if it were alive. This isn't a language, Chen stammered, her fingers trembling over the console. It's a signal, but it feels like it's listening. I nodded grimly. They're studying us, waiting for us to show our hand. Then, without any warning, one ship detached. It descended toward Earth like a falling star of impossible size, crashing into the Pacific and sending tidal waves across the globe. Panic erupted. Our militaries scrambled, but what could they do? From the ship, a figure emerged. It moved with a terrifying grace, its silhouette glinting under the sun in a way that defied physics. "Identify it," barked the captain over the intercom. But there was nothing to identify. No name, no face. Only eyes, or something like eyes, that pierced through the soul of every human watching. And then they showed their hand. Without a sound, the oceans roared. The skies darkened. Lightning cracked, but there was no storm. Humanity's best weapons, our missiles, streaked towards the alien ship and simply stopped. Mid-flight, they fell from the sky inert. I clenched my fists. They're testing us, I realized. They wanted war, and they wanted us to start it. Chaos was spreading faster than fear itself, but amidst the panic I saw something else, a spark, a strange, stubborn defiance in human eyes. We've never fought anything like this, but we humans, we survive. Always. These magnificent, silent invaders had underestimated the one thing they couldn't calculate, the strength of the human spirit. They thought the earth would tremble. They didn't understand our history as written in fire, in survival against impossible odds. The first wave had arrived. We didn't know how we would fight. We didn't know if we could win. But one thing was certain. The Silent Watchers had chosen the wrong planet to intimidate. As the alien fleet hovered, waiting for our first move, I made a silent promise. If they want war, we will give them extinction. The stars have seen countless civilizations rise and fall. But Earth was about to remind the galaxy that humanity does not go quietly. We don't surrender, we survive. And this is just the beginning. When fear gripped the earth, cities burned and oceans churned. The aliens had arrived, and every simulation predicted our immediate collapse. But standing on the command deck of Sentinel One, Commander Elias Kane refused to let humanity falter. He stared at the colossal alien ship, a dark omen against the sky, and chose to believe in us. "Sir," Lieutenant Mira Chen's voice cut through the tension. She pointed to a flicker on the screen. "They're shields. They're not perfect. There's a tiny energy fluctuation. If we hit it just right." Kane's eyes narrowed. This was it. Not a battle of strength, but of precision. "Prepare the Phoenix strike," he commanded. "All weapons target that spot. On my mark." Across the globe, a silent, coordinated effort began. We had no illusions of an easy victory, but we had something no alien algorithm could ever calculate. Stubborn, instinctual courage. Hundreds of drones, fighter jets, and orbital cannons aligned, each one carrying the weight of our collective hope. For a moment, the world held its breath. The aliens watched, silent, unreadable. Launch. The Phoenix strike was unleashed. Dozens of missiles streaked toward the alien ship, guided not by raw power but by human ingenuity. The first strike hit. The ship shuddered, not from damage, but from sheer surprise. Sparks danced across its surface as the shield flickered for the very first time. We had landed a blow. It was small, almost insignificant, but it was enough. It was proof they could be touched. Their retaliation was swift and terrifying. A beam of energy, brighter than 1,000 suns, erupted from their ship, disintegrating an entire squadron of drones in an instant. A shock wave rippled across the planet, shaking our cities to their core. But we did not retreat. We adapted. From underground bunkers to orbital stations, humanity moved as one. Fighters dodged, drones altered their courses, and satellites worked to jam their sensors. Kane watched in awe. We had no superpowers, no ancient alien tech, just our intelligence, our courage, and a relentless will to survive. Meanwhile, aboard the alien vessel, the invaders were observing. Their calculations, perfected over millions of years, hadn't predicted this. They expected panic, chaos, and surrender. Instead, they got a storm. Messy, unpredictable, but terrifyingly effective. On the ground, everyday heroes emerged. Firefighters pulled survivors from rubble while dodging alien energy pulses. Scientists improvised new weapons in days. The impossible was happening. Humanity was fighting back. Then, a new signal. Kane's comm crackled. "Sir, the aliens are trying to communicate." But it wasn't words. It was a pattern, rhythmic, almost musical. "It's not a negotiation," Chen realized. "It's a warning." And then, they did something no one expected. They withdrew just slightly, regrouping. The massive shadow lifted enough to reveal their base beneath the ocean, a colossal city of metal and strange, vibrant energy. But in that withdrawal, Kane saw it. Hesitation. For the first time, they weren't dominating. They were reacting. "Prepare the next strike," Kane ordered, his voice steady. They wanted a war. Let's remind them who fights with humanity's heart. Our forces launched again. Smarter, faster, more creative than before. But Kane realized something chilling. The aliens were learning. With every move we made, they adapted, analyzed, and prepared. The night sky burned. Humanity would not bow. Humanity would not beg. A new, darker tension settled over the world. The aliens were no longer just testing us. They were planning. But they had overlooked one crucial variable: our unpredictable, unquantifiable spirit. This wasn't a war of technology anymore. It was a war of wills. Our first strike had cracked the invincible, and the galaxy would now watch as the underdogs, fragile, defiant, and furiously alive, learned how to fight gods. Commander Kane gripped the console, his gaze fixed on the stars. "If they want a war," he whispered, "we will show them humanity." Thank you for watching. The world changed in a heartbeat. The skies filled with silent, colossal ships, and for a moment humanity held its breath, waiting for the end. But the end didn't come. We struck first. And in that single act of defiance, survival tasted like victory, igniting a fire in every human heart. Deep beneath New London, in a command center aglow with holographic maps, Commander Elias Kane watched the war unfold. Every alien movement, every flicker of their shields, was analyzed. We were learning, adapting faster than any advanced civilization could have ever predicted. "Sir," Lieutenant Mirachen's voice cut through the tension. "Their shields, they have a weakness. A specific frequency pulse can drop them just for a few seconds." Kane's eyes locked onto the display. "That's our opening," he declared. "They have strength, but we have cunning. We'll use timing and precision to carve out our survival." Across the globe, a symphony of chaos was unleashed. Satellites, drones, jets, even repurposed civilian tech all working in concert. Our attacks were unpredictable, a beautiful, deadly dance the aliens couldn't comprehend. With every reaction, they revealed more of their patterns, more vulnerabilities for us to exploit. While the world fought on the surface, Kane led a small strike team into the depths of the ocean. Their target, a submerged alien base. Inside, they found something shocking. Alien engineers desperately trying to predict our next move, monitoring our every tactic in real time. A soldier whispered, "They're scared." Kane looked at the alien figures, their focus absolute. "Not scared," he corrected. "Respect. We're forcing them to respect us." Then the moment came. The pulse hit. The shield dropped. A human missile tore through the void and slammed into an alien ship. A fiery blossom erupted against its hull, a crack in their invincibility. On the surface, the world cheered, a wave of pure, unadulterated hope. The aliens retaliated, unleashing energy waves meant to shatter our cities and our resolve. But we were ready. We ducked, we dodged, we countered. We turned their own tactics against them. The impossible was starting to feel possible. But the invaders were not so easily defeated. Sleek, terrifyingly fast reconnaissance units descended into our cities, aiming to decapitate our leadership and crush our morale. They met a planet that had turned every street corner into a kill box. Snipers, drone swarms, and ordinary citizens fought with the ferocity of lions. The aliens had technology, but we had something more powerful: the will to live. Every captured unit, every small victory, gave us more intelligence. A new feeling began to emanate from the alien fleet, something Kane sensed deep in his bones: hesitation, confusion. They were finally understanding. They weren't fighting a primitive species. They were fighting humanity, adaptable, relentless, and utterly unpredictable. As one of their massive ships faltered in the sky, its shields flickering like a dying flame, we knew we had drawn first blood. The victory was small, but the message was monumental. Even gods can bleed. The war is far from over. The aliens will learn, they will adapt, and they will come back harder. But a spark of hope has been lit. A spark that can ignite a fire that will burn across the galaxy. As dawn broke over a scarred but standing New London, Kane watched the alien fleet regroup. His voice echoed a promise to the stars themselves. Today they learned something. Humanity does not yield, humanity does not beg, and humanity will never die quietly. The war for survival had just begun, and we were just getting started. The world was scarred but not broken. The first wave had left our cities in ruins, our oceans churning with alien machines. But from the ashes, something fierce and unyielding arose: the human spirit. In the command center of New London, a city reborn from rubble, Commander Elias Kane watched the alien fleet hover above Earth. They were a living storm, each ship a fortress of unknown power. But where others saw an end, Kane saw an opening. "They're regrouping." Lieutenant Mirachen's voice cut through the tension, her fingers a blur across the holographic map. "Their formation has changed. They've learned from our last attack. They're expecting us." Kane's gaze was fixed on the enemy. A grim smile touched his lips. "Good, then we'll give them something they can't calculate. They expect a direct fight. We'll give them chaos." And so, The world transformed. It became a weapon. Cities became intricate traps. Seemingly abandoned skyscrapers were rigged to blow. The very debris in our skies hid swarms of armed drones. This wasn't just a battlefield. It was a grand, deadly chessboard, and every human was a player. Deep beneath the Pacific, Kane led an elite team in stealth pods. Their target, a secondary alien base hidden in the crushing dark. The journey was a whisper through a nightmare. Alien sensors, energy pulses, and silent patrols turned the ocean into a minefield, where one wrong move meant instant annihilation. "They're waiting for a conventional assault." Kane's voice was a low murmur over the comms. "They think they know how we fight. They're wrong. We survive because we think differently." Inside the base, they found horrors and wonders. Pulsing energy cores, alien machinery that seemed to breathe, and horrifyingly detailed maps of human cities, each marked for destruction. The enemy was ruthless, cold and terrifyingly efficient. But Kane saw something else. He saw a mistake, a tiny fractional misalignment in their energy grids, a pattern that repeated itself, a single flaw in their perfect machine. "This is it," he muttered. "The key. If we strike now, we can create a cascade failure across their network." At that exact moment across the globe, humanity's grand strategy unfolded. A symphony of destruction perfectly timed. Swarms of drones, unconventional missile strikes, and sheer human ingenuity hit the alien fleet all at once. For one breathtaking moment, the invaders faltered. Their shields flickered. Their lights died. The sky trembled with the sound of their own power turning against them. On the streets of New London, people looked up, cheering as the heavens burned with a fire that was, for the first time, a symbol of our victory. But the aliens learned fast. Smaller, sleeker units descended into the cities, hunting key positions, raking the streets with energy blasts. The battle shifted, becoming a frantic close-quarters dance of survival. And in the heart of chaos, humanity thrived. "All units fall back." Kane's voice crackled over the network. "Draw them in. Let them think they're winning. Then we strike from the shadows." Deep in their command ships, the alien leaders watched, their cold logic failing them. Humans weren't following the patterns of conquered species. They were unpredictable. They were infuriating. They were dangerous. Meanwhile, Kane's team rigged the underwater core to overload. As the energy surged, a low hum escalated into a deafening roar. Alarms blared throughout the alien fortress. A new alert flashed on Kane's display. "Sir, massive energy surge detected. It's heading for the surface. It could wipe out a city." Kane's jaw was set like stone. We counted on it. Now we show them why chaos is our greatest weapon. Above the waves, a new phase of the plan kicked in. A swarm of drones generated a massive magnetic pulse, catching the alien energy surge and redirecting it harmlessly into the empty depths of the ocean. The enemy had fired a cannon, expecting to vaporize a city, but we had simply moved the target. The underwater base erupted, a spectacular column of fire and water tearing through the ocean's surface. As Kane's team raced away in their stealth pods, the alien fleet above wavered once more, confused and wounded. We had turned their own strength against them. In the aftermath, there were celebrations. But Kane knew this was just one battle in a long war. The aliens were patient. They would adapt. They would return, smarter and deadlier. But for now, we had won, not with brute force, but with creativity, courage, and the refusal to ever give up. As the commander watched the horizon, where the dark silhouettes of the enemy lingered, a silent warning hung in the air. The war was far from over. But we had proven something, to them and to ourselves. We could survive. We could adapt. And we will fight in ways the galaxy has never seen. Kane's voice was a whisper, but it carried the conviction of all humanity. They wanted war. We gave them resistance. And we will not stop until they understand. Humanity will never surrender. The stars watched in silence, but the earth itself seemed to tremble with a newfound power. We had become the unstoppable shadows in a galaxy that had dared to underestimate us. The sky over our world burned, lit by alien fire. Our cities shook, our oceans raged, and the very air crackled with hostile energy. We had survived their attacks, again and again, but each victory cost us dearly. Millions were displaced, our bravest soldiers had fallen, and hope was wearing thin. Commander Elias Kane stood on a cliff. The vast Pacific stretched before him, his gaze fixed on the horizon where the alien fleet was gathering once more. Their numbers were greater than ever, a terrifying sight. But Kane, a veteran of this long war, saw something new. A tension in their formation, a caution they hadn't shown before. It was a subtle shift, but one humanity could use. "Sir," Lieutenant Mira Chen's voice cut through the wind, her image projected from a portable holomap. "We've intercepted fragments of their comms. It's garbled, but we've cracked a piece of their command structure. They're all tied to a central core for coordination. If we can take that out, we might just throw their entire operation into chaos." Kane's eyes narrowed, a flicker of grim determination in them. "Then that's our target. But this won't be easy. It's a suicide mission. Only the absolute best have a chance." All around the globe, in hidden bunkers and repurposed factories, elite squads prepared. They had stealth pods designed to slip through enemy lines, modified drones for reconnaissance, and advanced weapons scavenged from battlefields and reverse-engineered from alien tech. The plan was terrifyingly simple. Get inside the alien fleet, disable that central core, and hit them where it hurts most. As night fell, the first phase began. Stealth pods launched, gliding silently through the deep ocean and ascending into the atmosphere, invisible to alien sensors. Every maneuver was precise, every second critical. This was a race against time, a dance with death. Inside the labyrinthine corridors of the alien fleet, the human teams faced a nightmare. Corridors flashed with deadly energy pulses like indoor lightning storms. Alien patrols marched with unnerving mechanical precision. But humanity's strength was never just technology. It was our unpredictability. Our squads used chaos as a weapon, defying the invaders' cold logic at every turn. Finally, Kane and his team reached their objective, the central core. It was a colossal, pulsating sphere of unknown energy, humming with a life of its own, feeding power and tactical data to the entire fleet. One mistake here, and it would all be over. Not just for them, but for everyone back home. "We have one shot at this," Kane whispered into his comms, his voice steady despite the immense pressure. "Synchronize the charges. On my mark." The explosions were silent in the vacuum of the ship, but their effect was catastrophic. A massive surge of energy erupted from the core. Across the sky and the ocean below, the alien fleet shuddered, their protective shields flickering and failing. The ships reeled, their perfect formations breaking as their central command went dark. On the surface, humanity seized the opportunity. Our forces launched a massive counterattack, waves of fighters and ground troops striking while the enemy was disoriented and vulnerable. But this victory came with a heavy price. Several elite soldiers were lost in the core's collapse, consumed by flashes of alien energy. Kane watched as friends and comrades vanished before his eyes. The pain was immense, but the mission was a success. The alien fleet's legendary coordination was shattered. For the first time in this long, brutal war, we had forced them to retreat. A wave of celebration swept across the globe. From the soldiers on the front lines to the scientists in their labs, a surge of triumph united humanity. We had struck a blow so significant that even a species from across the galaxy couldn't ignore it. But Kane knew this was far from over. The aliens were relentless and they were adaptive. They would learn from this defeat. They would return and their vengeance would be terrible. Our survival still hung in the balance, depending on our courage, our ingenuity, and our refusal to ever give up. Back in the command center, Kane addressed his surviving team. "Today, we proved something to the universe. We proved that humanity will not be broken. We showed them we fight not just with weapons, but with our will, with our minds, and with our hearts. But tomorrow the fight gets harder. We have to be smarter, faster, and stronger." He paused, his gaze sweeping over the exhausted but determined faces. They wanted a war. We just gave them a taste of extinction, and I promise you, we will finish what we started. The stars above seemed to hold their breath, silent witnesses to our defiance. Our world had endured, it had adapted, and it had fought back. In our darkest hour, we revealed our true strength, the ability to rise against impossible odds and turn desperation into a winning strategy. Kane looked up at the night sky, where the remaining alien ships hovered in a silent, simmering fury. This wasn't the end of the war. This was the beginning of the real war. We had won a crucial battle, but the fight for our very existence was far from over. And in that moment, one truth echoed across the cosmos. The galaxy had underestimated humanity, and for that mistake, they would pay the price. The skies burned with fury, cities smoldered, oceans boiled, and the earth itself shook with a force humanity had never known. The aliens were no longer testing us, no longer cautious. This was their full might, unleashed upon our world. I'm Commander Elias Kane, and from the bridge of Sentinel One I watched our home burn. The holographic map was a sea of red. Alien ships like predators swarmed across the globe, systematically dismantling every human stronghold, every port, every energy hub. The losses were staggering. Millions dead in the first few waves. Our greatest cities reduced to smoldering battlegrounds. Lieutenant Mira Chen's voice was a tight wire beside me. They're attacking everything at once, Commander. They've adapted to our strikes. If we don't respond, Earth will be lost. I clenched my fists, the cold metal of the console biting into my palm. We've faced impossible odds before, Lieutenant. We'll do it again. Humanity survives, no matter what. Across the planet, a desperate and beautiful defiance took hold. Underground bunkers, once relics of a forgotten war, hummed back to life as command centers. Satellites, our eyes in the sky, were repurposed, redirecting energy pulses to disrupt alien weaponry. And on the ground, civilians armed themselves with anything they could find, their courage a fire that no alien weapon could extinguish. Their strategy was terrifyingly efficient. Massive energy waves disintegrated our infrastructure. Hovering drones, silent and deadly, hunted our leaders. Entire fleets of our best fighter jets were vaporized in seconds. Yet, we refused to yield. We adapted. We rerouted. We improvised. Every loss became a lesson. Every strike we survived became a blueprint for the next counterattack. Brute force wasn't going to save us. We had to be unpredictable. I coordinated a series of simultaneous strikes, a desperate gamble using every resource we had left. Orbital cannons, swarms of repurposed commercial drones, deep underground explosives, and the raw ingenuity of a species fighting for its life. In the Pacific, a daring team infiltrated an alien underwater base, rigging it to self-destruct. The explosion tore through the ocean, sending a shockwave that shattered the enemy fleet's formation above. At the same moment, coordinated drone attacks struck their newly exposed weak points. For the first time we saw them falter. Ships collided, energy shields flickered. Their flawless coordination broke. We hadn't just learned to survive, we had learned to fight like the predators hunting us. But the aliens were relentless. They adapted instantly, deploying new weapons, more formidable drones. Their attacks became surgical, precise, deadly. Every move we made was met with overwhelming force, pushing us right back to the brink. And still, hope burned. It burned in the minds of scientists hacking alien satellites, in the hands of engineers repurposing energy grids, and in the hearts of ordinary people turning the tide in ways no computer could predict. I looked at my command team, their faces illuminated by the grim glow of the tactical display. They wanted a war, I said, my voice calm, but filled with fire. And they got one. But we will not bow. We will not surrender. Every strike they make, every city they destroy will be met with defiance. Humanity survives. Humanity fights. Humanity will endure. That night, the sky glowed with explosions. And amidst the devastation, a single crippled alien command ship was brought down by a coordinated strike. A small victory, but its destruction sent a shockwave of defiance across their fleet. It was a message. We are not defeated. We are unpredictable. We will not fall quietly. I watched their fleet regrouping on the horizon, battered but still immensely powerful. The final battle was coming. They were calculating their ultimate strike, a move to erase us from existence. But they didn't understand. Every loss had forged us in steel. Every battle had sharpened our minds, and every human heart now burned with a defiant fire. In the silent darkness of space, the aliens were beginning to realize a terrifying truth. Humanity could not be broken. Humanity could not be controlled. Humanity was a force of nature. I whispered to the uncaring stars. They wanted war. We gave them resistance. And when the final moment comes, we will give them extinction. The earth below was scarred, but it was alive. And we, standing on the very edge of annihilation, were ready to rise, ready to strike back, stronger, smarter, and more unstoppable than ever before. The world held its breath. Cities lay in ruins, oceans churned with alien machinery, and the skies blazed with energy pulses that shook the earth to its very core. Humanity was on the brink of annihilation. An ancient, merciless alien fleet prepared a final, decisive strike, one that could wipe out every last human stronghold in mere minutes. High above the chaos on the observation deck of the orbital station Sentinel One, Commander Elias Kane watched the planet burn. Every tactic, every sacrifice, every life lost had led to this single, desperate moment. He felt the weight of 7 billion souls on his shoulders, but in his heart, he felt the fire of humanity burning brighter than ever. They're concentrating everything on that final strike, Lieutenant Mira Chen reported, her voice tight with tension. If it hits, nothing will survive. Kane's gaze sharpened, his eyes narrowing into slits of pure determination. Then we hit them first, he declared. Not with force, but with intelligence, with ingenuity. They think they understand war. They think they can predict us. But they've forgotten one thing. Humanity has no bounds. Across the globe, the final, audacious plan was set in motion. Stealth pods slipped through enemy lines. Drone swarms descended like angry hornets, and orbital cannons, along with every improvised weapon imaginable, worked in perfect, chaotic harmony. Every human movement was a feint, every strike a misdirection. We were unpredictable. We were defiant. Earth would not fall quietly. Deep within the alien armada, Kane's elite strike team infiltrated the command nexus itself. They navigated labyrinthine corridors pulsating with alien tech, where every footstep was a risk, every sound a potential death sentence. But Kane knew a fundamental truth about his species. We thrive in impossible situations. At the fleet's heart, they planted energy disruption charges, designed to overload the alien core. The machine pulsed, it hummed, it screamed in protest. But the team pressed forward. Sacrifices were made, soldiers fell. The very floor beneath them shook as energy arcs leaped across the corridors. But they reached their goal. The core destabilized. High above, the alien fleet's relentless energy pulses faltered. Their shields dropped. Their weapons misfired. For the first time, the invaders experienced something they never accounted for. Panic. Humanity seized the moment. Orbital cannons fired with newfound precision. Drones attacked from every conceivable angle. The skies erupted in a symphony of destruction. The tide had turned. For all their power, the aliens had never faced a species that could think, adapt, and defy with such relentless, unyielding courage. They expected fear, but they found defiance. They expected surrender, but they found a resistance that bordered on madness. Kane watched as the colossal alien fleet began to collapse. One by one, their ships fell from orbit, lighting up the sky like a constellation of artificial suns. The ocean churned, cities trembled one last time, but humanity endured. And then, silence. A profound, crushing silence. The alien fleet was no more. The skies cleared, the oceans calmed. Humanity had won. Not with superior technology, not with overwhelming power, but with raw ingenuity, unbreakable courage, and the unyielding spirit of survival. Standing among the ruins, battered but unbroken, Kane addressed the survivors. His voice, steady and clear, carried over the crowd. We fought, we adapted, we endured, and we survived. Let this be a message to the galaxy. Humanity will never bow, never surrender, and never fade quietly. A cheer erupted across the planet. Firefighters, soldiers, scientists, and civilians, everyone who had survived, joined in a global cry of triumph. We had been pushed to the brink, but we rose from the ashes stronger, smarter, and unbreakable. As the first rays of dawn broke over the scarred but living world, humanity's message was written across the stars. We endure. The skies fell silent. The hum of alien engines, a constant soundtrack to our fear, was gone. For the first time in an age, we could breathe. We could look up at the stars not with dread, but with a weary sense of triumph. I'm Commander Elias Kane, and I walked through the skeletal remains of what was once New London. The air, thick with dust and memory, was punctuated by something I hadn't heard in years. The laughter of children playing among the wreckage. Everywhere I looked, I saw it. The indomitable spirit of humanity. Civilians, their faces etched with loss but their eyes bright with purpose, cleared debris. They weren't just sweeping away the remnants of war, they were planting seeds, literally and metaphorically, in the scorched earth. We had been pushed to the very brink of extinction, our cities turned to glass, our armies to dust. They thought we were fragile, and we are, but fragility and weakness are not the same thing. Humanity, I realized, is fragile, but it is also unbreakable. My second-in-command, Lieutenant Mira Chen, joined me, her gaze fixed on the horizon as if expecting the enemy to reappear. "It's over," she said, her voice a mix of relief and disbelief. "For now, at least. They won't be back." I shook my head, a small smile finally breaking through the exhaustion that had become my constant companion. Over? Maybe this battle is over, but what just happened was more than survival. We taught the galaxy a lesson, Mira, a lesson we ourselves had almost forgotten. Humanity is not to be underestimated, not by anyone, not by any force in this universe. As the days turned into weeks, the stories began to pour in from every corner of our wounded globe. Tales of impossible courage, office workers who became resistance fighters, librarians who cracked alien codes, farmers who turned their tractors into makeshift barricades, ordinary people who, when faced with the end of everything, refused to break. They became heroes. Our scientists, once confined to labs, became master strategists, outthinking an enemy a million years our senior. Our soldiers became legends, their names whispered with reverence in the new settlements rising from the ashes. We finally understood that our true strength was never in our weapons or our starships. It was in our heart, in our mind, in our unyielding, stubborn will to simply keep going. From the bridge of my ship in orbit, I looked down at our world. Earth, a blue and white marble, now scarred and bruised but so breathtakingly alive. The oceans, once churned by alien leviathans, now reflected the sun like molten gold. Our cities, though battered, glittered in the night, each light a tiny beacon of defiance, a declaration that we were still here. We had stared into the abyss of extinction and not only survived, but emerged stronger, more united than ever before. And we knew they were watching. Somewhere out there, in the silent, velvet-black, ancient civilizations, beings older than time itself, had witnessed our struggle. They had expected us to shatter. They had predicted chaos, infighting, and a swift surrender. What they got was defiance. They found an ingenuity born from desperation and a collective spirit that burned brighter the more they tried to extinguish it. I found myself whispering the words into the silence of the bridge, a final epitaph for our would-be conquerors. They wanted a war. We gave them extinction wrapped in silence. And now we stand. Humanity endures. Humanity thrives. And the galaxy will never, ever forget it. The rebuilding has begun. The hum of construction has replaced the shriek of alien fighters. Cities are rising from their own ashes, taller and prouder than before. And we look to the stars now, not with fear, but with a newfound determination. Survival was just the beginning. The universe is vast, Filled with unknown threats, yes, but also with infinite possibilities. The war is over. But the legend of Earth, the story of the species that refused to die, has only just begun. A new dawn is breaking, not just over our planet, but for all of humanity. And for the first time, we feel truly unstoppable. Thank you for watching. If you were moved by this story of human resilience, please consider liking this video and subscribing to the channel for more content that explores the greatest what-ifs of our past, present, and future.